Hello, we're live. My name is James Cool. I'm the owner of DFS.com, and we are going to be talking some NFL today. We talked some NFL yesterday, but we're going to be talking some actual slate-specific stuff today. Going over the Week 14 NFL DFS main slate. We're going to be using the models over at Fantasy Labs for the Vegas dashboard, so that we can talk about some over-unders. We're going to be using the models over at DFS.com, my own site. We're going to be talking about projections and ranges of outcomes and all of that kind of stuff, leverage, etc., etc., etc. We're going to be talking about Week 14, which at a glance is super injury riddled. Just going and looking at the inactives list, there are 38 players that I'm assuming are going to be inactive, and plenty more questionable. This list isn't even comprehensive. My guess is that we probably have like 45 to 50 players inactive for Week 14, and a lot of them are on teams that really couldn't afford to have players be inactive. You know, like the Jets are missing basically their entire offense. The Lions are missing basically their entire offense. It kind of looks like it's like Week 16 early. So that's going to be pretty interesting. We have a lot of value to think through this week. We have plenty of good plays that might actually end up being super shitty. So we'll see how it goes. Zach, we definitely need to figure out the intro and outro stuff. I know. Just get Justin on it. I'll pay him $100 to give me an intro and outro. I don't know how to do it. I'm not a video media guy. So I don't know. We got to figure it out. But I'm so bad at it. I'm so bad at that. I'm so bad at general marketing. Super bad at general fucking pushing of my own product, which is annoying because you have to have both, right? When you're running a business, there needs to be a front of the business guy and a back of the business guy. If you don't have the front of the business guy, then you can't market anything good that the back of the business guy does. And I'm a back of the business guy through and through. I build models, I build tools, I build back end. I like that kind of stuff, but I am fucking trash at the front facing stuff. I'm very bad at it. So, whatever. Yeah, I know. I call back too. I hate front. I hate all front stuff. So, what is up, Dark Sheep? How are you doing, my good friend? Hope you're doing well today. Yeah, so this slate's pretty interesting. Just looking at the over-unders now, there is one game with a total above 50 on the main slate, and that is Buffalo and Tampa Bay. And then we have a couple games sitting in that 48 realm, and then it drops way down after that. Holy shit. Man, there are some bad games on the slate. Wow. All right, cool. Well, I mean, there's going to be a lot of ownership concentrated then, I guess. Okay, let's jump into things. Let's jump over here into this stuff. So, this is, as usual, the Fantasy Labs Vegas tab for NFL, whereas we're going to be looking at over-unders. We're going to be looking at what teams should be worthy of the ownership they're going to be getting and such. Just looking at it, like I said, there's one game with a total over 50 on the slate. It's this Bills at Bucks game. It opened at 53.5. It is sitting pat at 53.5. Pretty evenly split bets here. The Tampa Bay Bucks are 3.5 point favorites at home over the Buffalo Bills. Look, man, the Bucks are really good. The Bills are pretty good, but I don't know that they deserve to be just 3 point favorites here. I don't think that they deserve to just be 3 point favorites here. Hold on. I'm going to open up one of my other models. Okay, yeah, so this is the pass efficiency stuff. Oh, wow, no, I am wrong, maybe. Okay, so this is pass efficiency stuff that kind of tells us what teams are significantly better or worse than others. The Chargers deserve to be a million point favorites over the Giants here. But Buffalo actually, this game is actually really even according to this metric, which is pass efficiency. So there's only a 13-yard discrepancy between Buffalo and Tampa Bay in the entire year. However, if we look over the last 6 weeks, what do we get here? So the Chargers are significantly higher over the Giants still. Oh, wait. What am I doing here? Yeah, okay. I didn't do... Damn it. Okay, hold on. We're going to do a little coding here really quick. Because I want to get this working correctly. What am I doing? There you go. There we go. All right. There we go. Okay, so Chargers still certainly should be massive favorites over the Giants. Oh, and in this model, even Buffalo should be a higher favorite over Tampa Bay. Wow, that's really interesting. I have my biases. Obviously, I have my biases because Buffalo apparently should be favored in this game, which is super interesting, right? Like nobody would think that they should be favored here, but my models like Buffalo over Tampa Bay just slightly. So that's pretty interesting. That is worth mentioning. Okay, cool. Well, anyway, at high over under, you get it. High over under. Should be a really good game, assuming Josh Allen comes out and plays like Josh Allen. This game should be massive chalk. There's no reason why this game should not be massive chalk. There's no reason why you would be getting away from this game on either side. And projections pretty much agree with me. Like, I took a peek at projections. I haven't looked at all the projections yet. I finished them right before the stream. So, but that game should deserve massive chalk. After that, we have the LA and Cardinals game. That game takes place on the 13th, so that is the Monday Night Football game. But that one does have an over-under 51.5. Open up 48 has been bet up a little bit. Cardinals went from 2.5-point underdogs at home to 2-point favorites at home, which is interesting. Some reverse line movement there. But then when we get back to the main slate, we have the San Francisco at Cincinnati game where it has been bet up to 48.5 from 46. 57% of the bets, so relatively split. San Francisco went from 3.5-point favorites to 1.5-point favorites. Cincinnati, I would be shocked if they were not favorites by the time this game takes off. I think that by the time that we get to kickoff for this game, the Bengals are going to be 1-point favorites. I'm surprised that they are actually underdogs here. Granted, I do think that San Francisco is probably a slightly better team. I mean, what does pass efficiency say? Let's pull this back over. Pass efficiency has San Francisco as, a slightly better team. So, I mean, I guess that they would be favorites, but they are traveling East Coast, and they are the away team. So, them being 1.5-point favorites, I'm really surprised by that. I would think that this game would be at least a pick 'em or at least kind of favored for Cincinnati. I'm still surprised that it's favored for San Francisco. But this game has a 48.5-point over-under. It's probably not going to be all that great for fantasy, all things considered. The Bengals are a team that do have upside. San Francisco has very little upside unless they're in the right situation. It's very feasible that this game just turns into a very run-heavy slop fest. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. There are usable pieces for sure, and we'll get into that with the projections. Did you really chat timeout him? Did you really chat timeout him? You are on one. That's the first moderator thing that you've ever done. That's hilarious. All right. Anyway, going back to things. So we have Dallas at Washington, 48 over under. Only 44% of the bets were on the over, so it has moved up slightly, but not by much. Dallas went from 1.5-point underdogs to 4.5-point favorites. That's probably fair. Dallas is a better team than Washington, but not by a significant margin. So I actually think this game would probably be 3 or 3.5, not 4.5. That's maybe a little bit much. But this game has a 48 over under. It's fine. There are pieces to like. The main note here is that Logan Thomas is out for the rest of the year. He went back on IR for a knee injury, and I am going to assume that Tony Pollard misses this game. I do not think that Tony Pollard plays. So it's going to be Corey Clement behind Ezekiel Elliott, and I think that it's probably just going to be the Ezekiel Elliott show in this spot. Like they're relatively large favorites. It's not like Washington is some vaunted defense. So I think that Logan Thomas and Tony Pollard are going to be the only people to miss this game. Outside of that, it's business as usual for the Dallas throwing, for their passing attack. They have Amari Cooper back, so they should be at full strength now. Terry McLaurin is going to be a good bring back for sure. It'll be very easy to stack this game if you want to stack it. Then we get to the last game that has a 48 over-under or better, which is this Las Vegas at Kansas City game. Kansas City, massive favorites here, 10-point favorites. They are implied to score 29 points. Their IRT is the highest on the slate. This game started with a 53 over-under. It's been bet all the way down to a 48 over-under, mostly because Las Vegas is just bad. They don't have Darren Waller. They're pretty much playing with their second unit. They have an interim head coach. Like, all of it is just really, really bad for Las Vegas. And I think that Vegas is basically just saying, all right, well, Las Vegas can't compete here. So it's going to be a low-scoring affair. We'll see how that is. Kansas City's defense has been really, really good over the last couple of weeks, so I'm willing to buy that. But Kansas City certainly a fair stack, and we'll get to that with the projections. But for the most part, they look fine. And then we get to some trash. So we already had this Steelers at Vikings game, where obviously the Vikings just routed the Steelers. The game ended up close, but it wasn't really close. But that game only had a 44.5 over-under. Now we get into these games where it's like under a 44 already, like well under. So Jacksonville at Tennessee opened up at 51.5, has dropped all the way down to 43.5. There is absolutely no confidence that Jacksonville can put together a competent team, competent game plan at all. With all the Urban Meyer stuff going on, like, it's just really, really bad. It's just really bad. So Tennessee playing at home against Jacksonville. They get Julio Jones back. They are still like a well-coached team and a well-oiled machine even without Derrick Henry. So, yeah, for sure, they're going to be good favorites here. And Jacksonville is just fucking train wreck. But this game is a 43.5 over-under, already getting bad for fantasy. We have the Saints at the Jets, pretty much just like the second team for both of these teams. The Jets have Corey Davis out, Elijah Moore is out, Michael Carter is out, Tevin Coleman is out, Tevon Wesco is out. They just don't have anybody. It's probably going to lead to like Jameson Crowder chalk or some shit. It's going to be terrible. The Saints also missing Mark Ingram. They have back Alvin Kamara. They are missing Deontay Harris. They obviously don't have Michael Thomas. Like, they don't have Adam Troutman. So this is just the injury bowl here. It's really, really bad. It's 43 over under, and I'd take the under on that too. Interestingly, Taysom Hill is going to be chalk in this just like awful game. Just hilariously bad. Next, we have the Chargers at home against the Giants, where it's 43 over under. It's down 4 points. But it's mostly just down 4 points because the Giants are putting out the neck of Mike Glennon at QB again. And he's so bad. And they are still dealing with a lot of injuries. They do have back the majority of their wide receivers this week, but they're still missing Kadarius Toney. It's all so bad, man. Once you get down here, it's so bad. It's just injury central. Yeah, the Chargers, they also have some problems, right? Like, Keenan Allen is on the COVID list. So it should be the Mike Williams show. It should be Jalen Gouton stepping up quite a bit. But we'll see how it goes. There's going to be some weird chalk for the Chargers, I think. Really, the person who should be a chalk for the Chargers is Austin Eckler. But he's just, I don't know. I don't think people are going to play Austin Eckler. I think people are just going to play Mike Williams, and I don't hate it, but like, it's just a 43 over under. And I don't know. It's a 43 over under. I don't like it very much. But we'll see. I'm sure that I'll probably end up with some Mike Williams because he projects well. Next we have Green Bay at home against the Bears. 43 over under. Green Bay, massive favorite, 12-point favorites over the Andy Dalton-led Chicago Bears. This is This is a Sunday night football game, so this should be showdown, fun, cool, very fun. It's really bad. So yeah, just really bad. The Ravens at the Browns, two very, very run-heavy teams going up against each other. It is a 42.5 over-under. Been bet down 4 points with 39% of the bets. Sharper money is on the under for sure. And I tend to agree. Baltimore projects well just because Lamar Jackson still accounts for so much of the offense. But yeah, this game isn't something that you necessarily want to be stacking by any means. And then you drop down again. We have the Lions at the Broncos. The Lions are missing nearly everyone. They don't have DeAndre Swift. They don't have Jamal Williams. They don't have TJ Hawkinson. They don't have Quintez Cephas. Jared Goff throwing to the likes of Amon-Ra St. Brown and fucking Khalif Raymond or whoever it is. The Broncos should get back Melvin Gordon. Mike Boone is on the COVID list, so it should be back to that Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams split. Outside of that, they don't really have that many injuries. The Broncos should win this one handedly. It's interesting they have a 26.25 over-under, or I mean IRT, which is higher than the Chargers. It's higher than the Seahawks. It's higher than a lot of teams on this slate. So pretty interesting that they have such a high implied run total here, or implied team total here. But still, it's 42 over-under. Like, it's probably terrible. Panthers at home against the Falcons. Again, just a shitty game. 41.5 over-under, down a full touchdown. The Panthers obviously missing Christian McCaffrey. Falcons obviously missing the will to live. Just bad teams. But there's probably a little bit of goodness here, right? Like, you can do a secondary stack of DJ Moore and Russell Gage, or like Kyle Pitts exists. Like, there's options in this game. I actually think that the over on 41.5 is pretty good here. So, we'll see how that one goes. But again, 41.5 over under, like, unless you really think this game goes way over that, this is just, we're into the trash. And then finally we have the Texans at home against the Seahawks, where it opened up 48.5 down to 40.5. Just the Texans are just bad. They're likely missing Brandon Cooks. It's third string wide receivers being passed to by a second string quarterback. The models may be like Seahawks again. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But just trash. There's so much trash. There's basically 3 games that deserve any consideration this week. And that's going to make for an interesting week. That'll be really interesting. You bet the Jets to win, Matt? Yeah, I mean, that's... I don't know. I don't like betting on the Jets to win or to lose. Because they're just, I don't like putting money on trash. Taysom Hill in every position. Yeah, I mean, if you could play him tight end, go ahead and play him tight end for sure. Keelan Cole, a nice pivot from the Chargers. Welcome to the chat. M. Andrews 93, appreciate you, man. But Keelan Cole, a nice pivot off the Chargers. Wide receivers, I don't know. I think that, take a look at some of the projections here. I think I have Keelan Cole probably projected badly, but I think overall, like, him or Denzel Mims, I think that it's probably Mims that you actually want to take a shot on. I think that at this point, the Jets are just kind of like in total punt mode. They don't give a shit about the rest of the season. And Denzel Mims is somebody that they need to figure out because he was a high draft pick and he does have high pedigree. So instead of getting Keelan Cole work, my guess they get Denzel Mims work, and he is actually kind of a baller when he does get work. So that would be my guess, is if you want to like get away from Jalen Gouton, probably Denzel Mims if you want to go with a Jets wide receiver. Chris Conley won you 10K in 2019. First off, congrats on the 10K. That's cool. We like 5-figure wins. And maybe Chris Conley should be stepping into a pretty decent role here. I haven't projected okay so long as Brandon Cooks is out. But again, like Houston, man. Houston and the Jets and like these teams that have like, look at these implied run total or these implied team totals. Like the Lions 15.75, Houston 16. The Jets at least are almost to 20. Like they're almost to 3 touchdowns. But it is so bad. There's so many teams that are just projected so bad this week. And then when we look at the implied live, like the Charger or the Chiefs are in a really, really good spot. Tampa Bay, Green Bay, but like these massive favorites, 10-point favorites, 12-point favorites, 9-point favorites, 10-point favorites. The Broncos are really interesting up here. Nobody's going to play the Broncos. nobody will play Broncos stack, but they have a really, really good implied run total. So there's some pretty interesting stuff for sure. Let's see. I got tagged in the NBA. Can't rerun NBA because I'm doing this, and this is more important to me right now. Let's see. Don't fucking Zach. Don't go say why I'm advising you to full game stack NO and the Jets. I hate you. Hate. All right. Let's see. Let's pull this over, and then we can start probably talking a little bit about the projections. The projections are pretty interesting this week. Just figured Cole Mims sneaky bring back with Taysom. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go with the Taysom stack, which I don't ostensibly hate, there are reasons to go with Taysom Hill. Like if you go like Taysom Hill with Traquan Smith and or Marquez Callaway and bring it back with Denzel Mims, like that's free. That's like literally free. Let's go see how much that costs, because it'll be like ultra cheap. I don't even know how you would spend the rest of your money if you did this, to be honest. Traquan Smith, Marcus Callaway, and then bring it back with Denzel Mims. Yeah, that's free. I mean, it costs less than $18K to get all of them. The projections obviously are pretty bad, but the ceiling for Traquan Smith and Marquez Callaway are not bad. The ownership is really, really low. I mean, I think the thing that I would probably prefer to do is do something like this and like fade Taysom Hill and go with Patrick Mahomes. And then Tyreek Hill with Travis Kelce. And then who's Kansas City facing again? Raiders, right? So then something like, I guess you could do Hunter Renfrow. And then you still have 4K per, and that's not including the defense. So, like, this is feasible. If you were to use Denzel Mims and Traquan Smith as, like, a way to get to a Kansas City stack, I don't hate that. But, I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, it is negative love X. Just because, like, the ownership's going to be really high on a lot of these players, and it's mostly on the Hunter Renfrow projection, I think. Likely just run Taysom Hill naked and run Kamara where I don't have Taysom. Yeah, I mean, I think that you need to pair somebody with Taysom Hill. The only way that Taysom Hill ends up beating the likes of Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen and like those guys is if he does have a passing touchdown or like at least 150 passing yards and a touchdown. So somebody is going to get there. Like somebody. And his wide receivers are so cheap that there's not even a reason to skinny stack him really. Or I mean, to run him naked. There's like no reason to run him naked because you're not the opportunity cost of having a wide receiver with him is so low, and it saves you so much money anyway that like getting the correlation there I think is important. If his ceiling is going to beat some of these guys, like if he's going to beat Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, just out of those five guys, right? If he's going to get you enough to end up winning you a GPP past those guys, he's going to have to throw for a touchdown and like run for one, or throw for two and run for one, or something like that. So having him with somebody, I think, is important, and it'll differentiate you. I think a lot of people are going to go Taysom naked, or you could just pair him with Kamara if you want. I don't hate that. Like Kamara is very likely to have like 20% target share and 20% of the receiving touchdowns as well. So. All right, let's talk a little bit about some projections. So, as we are looking at it, the top overall projection is Buffalo. Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and Dawson Knox is the algorithmic stack. Projected for 59. The LevX is still good, mostly because, I mean, it is the top overall projected stack. It has a 27% chance of being the top overall scoring stack on the slate. Like, it's a pretty good stack. The price is not exorbitant. It's not higher than Kansas City, and it projects better than Kansas City. So don't mind Buffalo. Of course, on the other side of that, where you're going to have Tampa Bay, like both of these teams project super duper well. So there's really no reason to be worried about stacking either one of them. They are going to have ownership, and they deserve to have ownership for sure. It's the highest overall total on the slate by a long shot, and both these teams just love to shoot out. I wouldn't even hate if you had if you had like for me with the power sweep tomorrow, there's a really, really good chance that I end up with, if I do this, can you guys still see like the actual thing? I hope that you can, because I prefer to have it like this. But yeah, I think that like for the power sweep tomorrow, I might just have 3 stacks of Tampa Bay Buffalo. Just because like it's 5 points higher than any other one. Damn it, it's pretty small. Son of a bitch. All right. Okay, cool. So, I think that I really do like this Buffalo Tampa Bay game, but you're not getting an ownership discount. Like, you're going to have to be different with your running backs for sure. I think that that's probably the main spot that you're going to have to be different. Going on to the next one, Baltimore projects okay as a stack, but the over-under is really, really low. Like, if we look at the Vegas baselines, right? If we look at team totals, Baltimore's sitting down here at just 19.75, which is really, really bad. Implied for 37 pass attempts, 21 rushing attempts, 2.21 total touchdowns. It's just really low. The only reason why it projects well is because of Lamar Jackson. Like, Lamar Jackson, I think, projects for like 28 or something. And then Marquise Brown. Yeah, he only projects for 11, and I think Mark Andrews is like 10 or something like that. Oh, Mark Andrews is 14. So you would probably just want a skinny stack like this if you were going to do it. It's not ideal, but they project okay. It's just not a game that screams like we're going to score a lot of fantasy points in this game, just because it's 2 really, really run-heavy base teams. There shouldn't be a lot of plays ran in this. And Cleveland projects middle of the pack. Baker Mayfield, Jarvis Landry, and Donovan Peoples-Jones, but it's mostly just going to be like Nick Chubb and the other guy, Kareem Hunt, that are probably just going to be running the game. So that game should come in under. It should be a pretty low-scoring game, but I mean, we've seen games where Cleveland should be in a low-scoring attempt, and they end up scoring a whole bunch. So I still do like Baltimore. I think that they're fine, but like, I don't know. Be wary of that. Next, we have Kansas City, where they are massive favorites over Las Vegas. They do project fine. They project 51.65 with Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce. But it's worth saying that, like, when we go into the Vegas baselines here, Kansas City, their team total is 29. Typically, they do have 72% pass rate. But in this spot, since they are such big favorites, I don't really expect them to be reaching this 72% pass rate. As you can see, like, their team rush is still 21. They're only implied for 2.11 passing touchdowns, and that likely gets spread out a little bit. The rushing touchdowns 1.13, so a little bit worrisome on that. But obviously, they're a top-tier stack. They should be high-owned this week. They have the highest team total on the slate, but they're really expensive. So who knows if people are actually going to try to go there and fit that. We'll see how it is. On the other side, Las Vegas, they project okay. Derek Carr, Zay Jones, Hunter Renfrow is what the algorithm wants us to stack. Projects for 48. It's pretty good, all things considered, especially for only 15.4K. Las Vegas is projected for more passing attempts than usual, and Darren Waller's not there, so we're expecting Zay Jones and Hunter Renfrow to pick up the majority of the slack. Zay Jones was really close last week to breaking the slate wide open with a couple really deep passes, so I'm willing to go back there. Again, if I go Kansas City, I'm going to bring it back with Zay Jones like 100%. There's no reason not to, I don't think. Especially when I go over into looking at wide receiver stuff, like Zay Jones projects well again. He's still only 3,400. He's not going to have any ownership. So really, really like Zay Jones in this spot. I think that's a good spot to go. And if you go with a Kansas City stack and then use Zay Jones as the comeback and then go with those cheap New Orleans and Jets wide receivers like we talked about earlier, that's going to give you a lot of room to actually play some running backs that are good. And you won't have to worry about ownership either. So that's likely a way that I'm going to go tomorrow. But I'm not going to stack the Las Vegas side, I don't think. If I do, I'm going to bring it back with Travis Kelce like 100%. Or no. I'll probably bring it back with Tyreek Hill. I'll play Zay Jones with Foster Moreau. And that'll be actually pretty cheap. So that game is definitely worth looking into. If Kansas City is able to do what they want, then we have to think about Las Vegas being able to come back. So Take a couple questions real quick. I like seeing my face, Zach. I love you. You're a nice guy. You like Beasley against Tampa Bay's zone scheme? I mean, he just doesn't have much upside. He's pretty dusty. Dude has like a ceiling of like 15 fantasy points, something like that. I always prefer Emmanuel Sanders, but I mean, that game has such a high over-under. Like, you can certainly just go however you want to go about it. I'm not going to stop anybody from playing Cole Beasley in that spot. Could I skinny stack? I think that was about Baltimore. Yeah, so do Lamar Jackson with Mark Andrews. That's the way that I would go about it if I do go with Baltimore. I don't think that I will. I think, like, looking at the projections, I'm probably not going to have a Baltimore stack, but that's the way that I would do it. Austin Hooper might be my highest conviction play this week. You will not be alone. He's picking up a bit of steam. I think he probably ends up being relatively highly owned because he is pretty cheap. But there's a lot of cheap tight ends this week. Like, yeah, I mean, Foster Moreau is 4K. James O'Shaughnessy is 2,900. Gerald Everett is 3,500. Brevin Jordan is 2,500. Like, Austin Hooper, 3,400. There's a lot of cheap tight ends that you can utilize this week. I don't think you have to pay up by any means. Maybe people will, but it kind of looks like people are going to be paying up, so the way that you probably go about things this week is to pay down. Let's see. Beasley is an asshat? Absolutely. It's a fucking silly person. What about Josh Jacobs' target share increasing? I do like Josh Jacobs a lot. If you go and you look at the running back ranges, Josh Jacobs is like relatively up there, and his floor is really, really good. He actually has the highest floor of any running back on the slate at 6.36 fantasy points. His projection is okay at 16, and he's going to have like relatively high ownership, it looks like. But he's not going to be one of the highest owned players on the slate by any means, and he's probably going to get overshadowed by Antonio Gibson. He's probably going to get overshadowed by Javonte Williams for whatever reason. No, that ownership is going to come down as soon as Melvin Gordon's ruled in. So, Albert O week? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Albert O is cool though. We like Albert O. Tight end high key stack? Yeah, it is. It's a really, really good week for tight end. And like, people are gonna jump off the Foster Moreau train after one bad week, but like, they shouldn't. Mark Andrews looks really, really good. Foster Moreau looks really, really good. Dawson Knox looks really good at low ownership. Brevin Jordan projects okay. And fucking Texans, man. All right. Hadn't looked at the ownership yet on Jacobs. Yeah, it's like 15%. He projects as like the fourth highest owned running back or something. Like, there's no reason to fade him for ownership. Telling the real boss you were bullying me so much. Kuta. Don't tell her. That'd be mean. That'd be mean. Don't tell her. All right. Let's jump back in. Next game, the Chargers versus... Fuck, the Chargers facing again. I don't remember. Oh yeah, the Giants. Trash. Okay. Justin Herbert, Mike Williams, Jalen Guton is the algorithmic stack. It is very cheap. There's going to be a lot of ownership associated with it. And then the Giants are the worst projected stack. So I don't love the Giants here. Or I mean the Chargers here. I think that the Chargers probably are the team that I feel most comfortable fading. We've seen them let down at times this year. I'm saying this and like Mike Williams is going to destroy the slate, but like we've seen them let down at times this year, and I think that this could be a very easy letdown spot. I actually much prefer Austin Eckler. If I can get Austin Eckler in all three lineups, I would do it, because the direct leverage that you're going to be getting off of Mike Williams and Jalen Guton is going to be so high by just going with Austin Eckler, that I think that you really have to try to consider doing it and like try to figure out a way to do it. And like in my head, I can already think of a way to do it. Actually, let's see if I can build this. I'm going to try to build it on my phone so that I don't give away my juice for the slate tomorrow. Let's see. Okay, so we're going to go... Oh my god, Eckler's so expensive. It doesn't matter. We're going to go... This is going to work. We're going to figure this out. Yep. Yep. Okay. All right. Good. We got Travis Kelce, most expensive tight end. Cool. Yep. Good. All right. Cool. Oh, yeah, you can do it. All right, cool. That's the secret sauce for tomorrow. That's the secret sauce. I just want everything. Yep, yep, yep. Don't even bother entering tomorrow. I got this. All right. So, yeah, I like that. But yeah, the Chargers, like, I like Austin Eckler a lot. I do not like anything on the Giants. There's just not even anything, like, there's no reason for me to like the Giants. For Dallas, Dallas facing Washington. Dak Prescott, Amari Cooper, and CeeDee Lamb is the algorithmic stack. That makes sense. It's intuitively based. Washington projects badly, but with no Logan Thomas, Ricky Seals-Jones is interesting again because he's still pretty cheap, and Terry McLaurin makes a lot of sense. So you have a couple different options. Obviously, you're going to stack the Dallas side because the Washington side is just so much worse in terms of like the projection that you're giving up if you drop down to it. But you do have some options of who you want to use with Washington. You can use Terry McLaurin, but that's going to be expensive. And I would probably prefer to use Ricky Seals-Jones, who does have a very good red zone presence for Washington. So I'm fine with Dallas. I don't have any problem with it. They're probably like my fourth favorite team to stack on this slate. I don't know if I'll get to them, especially because like with Amari Cooper back, it's kind of muddied the wide receiver exposures and stuff like that. It just kind of... I don't love utilizing them when they have all of their options free. The other way to go about it, obviously, is to use Ezekiel Elliott, who is in a really, really good spot. I probably don't like him as much as I like Austin Eckler, but if you can't get up to Austin Eckler, then yeah, for sure, like Ezekiel Elliott projects relatively well. Projects for around 14 at 7.3. Again, I certainly prefer Austin Eckler, but if you can't get there, Ezekiel Elliott is a nice consolation prize. Let us jump into the next one. So we have this Cincinnati game. It's Cincinnati-San Francisco. So Cincinnati still projects okay at 47.45. San Francisco never projects super duper well, but they are down there in 44. I like the Cincinnati side of things more than I like the San Francisco side. So Jimmy Garoppolo has no upside. Never played Jimmy Garoppolo in DFS, like ever. I just do not want to deal with that ever. So just stack the Cincinnati side if you're going to. And then you have the option of going back with either Deebo Samuel or George Kittle. I certainly prefer George Kittle in this case simply because he is a tight end and you are able to take care of a premium position in your correlation on your stack. But Deebo Samuel does project really, really well, and I don't think that people are going to be stacking this game at all. So you're not going to have to worry about ownership. You can just stack up ownership around it. It makes it pretty easy. Next we have Seattle. Seattle is facing, I don't know, this is the lowest over-under on the slate, right? They're facing Houston. I was all in on Seattle last week. I mean, like, okay, look, not all in on Seattle last week. I really, really liked Seattle last week. I did use them in the power sweep. They just look so fucking bad, dude. Russell Wilson is just not right now, and Pete Carroll is a moron, and like it's just so hard to stack them. But I don't mind going there. The way that I would do it, if you were going to do this stack, is going to be Russell Wilson with DK Metcalf this week, as well as their tight end Gerald Everett, and then bring it back with either Chris Conley or whatever fucking scrub you feel comfortable bringing back with Houston. I think you can really only do Chris Conley. I don't think that you can really do anything outside of Chris Conley. He's the only guy for Houston that has any kind of upside, that has been a wide receiver one, that knows how to play wide receiver well enough at the NFL level. I just don't think that you can do anything but Chris Conley for Houston. So it does make it really easy. Like a Seattle stack is very easy to build because it's just Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, Gerald Everett, Chris Conley, boom, done. You don't even have to think about it. But I don't love Seattle this week. If I had like 20 lineups, maybe I would end up with one, but probably not. Probably not. All right. Questions, actually. Higgins over Chase is interesting. Yeah, Higgins has surpassed him. Kind of. Like, I think that they are so close that it's just flipping a coin at this point. and neither one of them will be high owned. So like you're flipping a coin just simply to flip a coin, and I legit dead fucking mean that. Of like when you build a Cincinnati stack, if you're gonna build one, just flip a coin on which one of those two that you want, or you can take both. It doesn't even matter. Like Jamar Chase should have gotten there last week on top of T Higgins. Like they both should have gotten there. So I don't mind utilizing both of them. But if you're sitting there like, oh man, which one should I use, T Higgins or Jamar Chase? Just flip a coin. Legitimately, they're that close. Let's see. First skinny stack if playing Dak. Dak can only get there through the air. So like if he's going to do enough to win you a GPP, then like he's gonna throw 300 yards and 3 touchdowns if he's going to beat out like Tom Brady, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, like all these guys. And like it's not like he's cheap. So he needs to get there. It's not like the Taysom Hill thing where he's 5,600 and it's like, okay, well, if he gets 20 fantasy points, then he's fine. No, he needs to get there to beat out the other quarterbacks in his price range. So, yeah, Dak Prescott, like, certainly I'm not going to be skinny stacking him. Like, you really need to have all of the passing upside that he represents in order to win a GPP with him. Is Eckler call like Fournette a couple weeks ago? I fucking hope so. I don't know. The Leonard Fournette call was really, really good a couple weeks ago. So the pricing algorithm has finally caught up with Leonard Fournette for the most part. But I think Austin Eckler, he should go like under owned this week. I mean, what is his ownership projection right now? It's 20%. I'll take the under on that. I don't think he'll be that high owned. I think that people are mostly going to be playing Mike Williams with Jalen Vuitton. And I don't think that Austin Eckler is going to end up that high owned. But we'll see how things shake out tomorrow. If he does end up like super high owned, then it loses a little bit of its allure. But I still think that Austin Eckler is a really, really, really good play. One guy stand up for you there. Oh, you're asking about the Dallas situation. Jimmy G for all the handsome man. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm in love with Jimmy G. Dude is fucking gorgeous. Taking both because I always build since stack. If only just for D-shell. That is beautiful. You do have something beautiful. SFRB situation, Wilson, Hasty, or avoid? Definitely Wilson. For sure Wilson. Avoid, mostly, but definitely Wilson. The other side of it is like San Francisco certainly is going to support some sort of upside for running back. Almost assuredly. They are projected for 25.25, projected for a total of 2.82 touchdowns, and 32 rushing attempts. They're projected for the most rushing attempts on the slate, 1.27 rushing touchdowns. Looks like 4th highest on the slate. Oh, wow. Cincinnati's really run heavy in the red zone. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, they're up there. Like, there are other teams that have higher rushing touchdown expectation, but Jermichael Hasty and Jeff Wilson are both just so cheap that it's going to be really, really hard to ignore them. That said, the Detroit running back situation, that's where the gold is. Fucking just pick one of Jamar Jefferson or Godwin Igwebuike. There's no way I said that right. But, like, pick one of them. They're both min-price. One of them is going to just shatter the slate. Like, just break it in half. Even if they only score, like, 16 fantasy points. Like, one of these min-price running backs is just going to destroy the slate. So, that's likely where I'm going to be taking my shot. Especially because I don't think anybody's going to be on them. I mean, initial ownership projections are that nobody's going to be on them. So, it should be interesting. All right, let's go back to some stacks. And let's figure this out. Oh, wait. Somebody who's actually seen Jamar Jefferson? I do not watch college ball. So, like, please tell us about Jamar Jefferson. Because, like, I don't fucking know anything about him. I have him projected slightly better than Godwin. Next stack. Okay, so we have Cleveland, already talked about. New Orleans, already talked about. San Francisco, already talked about. Atlanta, Carolina. Same thing I've been saying for Atlanta for weeks now. Like, the way to stack Atlanta is to go Matt Ryan, Kyle Pitts, and Cordero Patterson. That's the best way to stack this team. It's the highest upside and the most unique build. There's no reason to give up on Kyle Pitts yet. Like, they're just going to keep running him in the ground. He's a rookie. He's just going to get his reps. So, that's the most interesting way to build. You just bring back DJ Moore, and then you just call it good. That's all. That's all that you do. Carolina, you just don't stack Carolina. I mean, realistically, you don't stack Atlanta either, for sure. But if you're going to stack, one of these teams can be Atlanta, and I think that you go Matt Ryan, Cordell Patterson, Kyle Pitts. Or you can use Russell Gage instead of Kyle Pitts if you feel like doing that. So, but yeah, I'm not touching the game. Jacksonville, yay. Okay, this is Jacksonville versus fucking, I don't remember, hold on. Jacksonville versus Tennessee, ew, man. Jacksonville projects slightly better than Tennessee. Tennessee does get Julio Jones back. If you want to do a secondary stack of Marvin Jones Jr. and Julio Jones, I don't mind doing that. I'm fine with that. I'm not touching anything else in this game. Probably not. I'm probably not touching on anything else in this game. I do kind of want to think about the running back situation a little bit more. Donta Foreman does not project terribly for 5K. And Dontrell Hilliard projects right there at 5,300. I think that I need to look at that situation kind of the same as Javonte Williams and Melvin Ingram, though, or Melvin Gordon, though. I'm probably not touching anything in this game. I don't mind Julio Jones. Bring it back with Marvin Jones. Like, a Jones-Jones stack is not the worst thing. The Jets. So, we already talked a little bit about this, but the Jets are really bad. That game has a really bad over-under. Even going and looking at the wide receivers here for the Jets, like, who's the top overall projected for the Jets? It's Jamison Crowder at 11. And then you have to drop down, and you find Keelan Cole and Denzel Mims sitting here at 8. And, like, the over-under is just so low. You would have to think that game goes way over the implied total in order to make them worth anything. And that's just going to be hard, I think. So, rough one there, for sure. I don't really want to stack either side of the game. Again, I don't mind using Denzel Mims. I don't mind using somebody. I don't know. Like, Denzel Mims is the only person for the Giants or for the Jets that I want to use. For New Orleans, I don't mind Traquan Smith or Marquez Callaway. I'm fine with either, but it's probably just Alvin Kamara that you would want to use. Dropping down, we already talked about Washington. We already talked about Tennessee, Houston. We haven't talked about Denver yet, actually. Denver projects really, really badly, but they do have a pretty high implied team total of 26, so somebody's going to be scoring. It's probably the running backs. If I had to put money on it, it's probably the running backs, and the models think so as well. Like, Denver is very run-heavy in the red zone, but Jerry Jeudy is going to have 0 ownership. And if you do like a Jerry Jeudy, Josh Reynolds secondary stack, it's 0 ownership, it's super cheap, and that's where a lot of the target share is going, especially since there's no TJ Hawkinson. Like, Josh Reynolds and Amon-Ra St. Brown have to step up, and they're going to get a lot more targets. So I'm not justifying stacking this bullshit, but if you want to, then you'll get no ownership, and there is actually reason to think that the target share should be pretty good there. And then we talked about the last two. And they're both bad. Both projected very, very badly. So this is an interesting week. I think overall, like, there's like 4 teams that you can even really consider in like smallish field, right? So like in the power sweep, there's no reason for me to stack anybody but Buffalo, Tampa Bay, Kansas City, Dallas, Las Vegas, Baltimore. And that's it. Like, there's 6 teams that I can even consider stacking, and I don't even really want to stack Baltimore. I don't even really want to stack Las Vegas. Really, there's like 4 teams that you can even stack. So it's going to make things really, really easy. It's just Buffalo, Tampa Bay, Kansas City, Dallas. Like, those are kind of your 4. And then after that, you can kind of get in a secondary stack. Like, maybe Cincinnati, maybe Baltimore. That's like it. There are so few teams to actually utilize, which is cool. Like, it makes this a slate that is very straightforward in terms of the stacking. So that means that you need to get different with who you're using at running back or tight end, or with your roster construction in general. I talked with Blender last week on Monday, or this week on Monday, about how he approached the slate last week, and I think that it's kind of stacking up to be a very similar week, where so long as you are making sure that you're building good quality lineups with the teams that are going to be really chalky and like getting different at like one spot, you're likely fine. It's just that there are so few usable teams on this slate from a median standpoint that being super different is just going to come down to how you're building them. And I like weeks like this. I think this is going to be a pretty good week for me. I hope that it is. So if I can take down the power sweep this week, then I don't have to play NFL for the rest of the year, and that would be refreshing. I still would, but like it would be refreshing to not have to worry about it for sure. So those are pretty much teams like Buffalo, Baltimore, Kansas City, Dallas. Those are kind of the four. Outside of that, it kind of started getting fringy, but the models do like a couple things. You know, the models do like Baltimore quite a bit. Models, of course, like the Chargers, but I'm okay fading them. Las Vegas is very cheap, and in that game against Kansas City, they're going to have really, really good game script. So there's some really interesting ways to go about it. You could stack Las Vegas and use it to pay up for some running backs, and I don't hate that, but we'll see how things go. Next, we're just going to kind of take a look through the chalk. We're going to talk through the chalk at each position. We're going to talk through what players I probably wouldn't touch, and then we're going to get out of here, and we're going to go on with our night. All right. So let's look at QBs first. So it's looking like Taysom Hill looks like he's going to have the highest ownership at 13%. He's 5,600. People love playing him, and that makes sense. But QB ownership, like, this is never indicative of a slate. 11% on Cam Newton is really funny. I don't know why people would be on Cam Newton this week. Like, Carolina is sitting here with a 21.75 team total, 1.1 passing touchdowns, 1.33 rushing touchdowns. It's really, really bad. I think people are just like, oh, yeah, it's Atlanta, so, like, use the quarterback against them. But that's silly. I wouldn't play a chalk Cam Newton in this spot by any means. Outside of that, Josh Allen's in a good spot. Lamar Jackson's not going to have any ownership. Looking at it, like, there's really not anything that I think is out of the ordinary here. Like, these should be the highest owned quarterbacks, and they deserve to be. What the hell is this music that's going on in my fucking ears? Rebel means rebel, nothing left to lose. Terrible. Looking at running back. Is there any weird, unexpected chalk? No. Okay. So the chalk looks like it's going to be... I mean, this is going to go away as soon as Melvin Gordon is announced in and active. But Leonard Fournette should have plenty of ownership. That makes sense. Antonio Gibson, again, if J.D. McKissick is not playing. Even if J.D. McKissick is playing, I think people are still going to be on Antonio Gibson, which is interesting. Austin Eckler projects relatively highly. I don't know that he's actually going to come in that high. It kind of seems weird to me that the most expensive running back on the slate would come in at 20% owned when the only stacks that are valuable this week are going to be the expensive stacks. So I think Austin Eckler is actually going to come in somewhere around like 12 to 15, not 19 to 23. I can't imagine Austin Eckler would be higher than 15% owned on this slate, especially with Alvin Kamara cheaper and likely projecting a little bit better. Leonard Fournette projects really, really well. People love Antonio Gibson. Yeah, I don't think that we see Austin Eckler above 15%. The highest leverage on the slate is going to be, or on running backs, Leonard Fournette. That makes sense. I don't know that I'll have a Tampa Bay stack, so I'll probably have a decent amount of Leonard Fournette, but we'll see how much it affords. Like I said, I'm willing to take a shot on Jamar Jefferson. I'm willing to take a shot on Rashad Penny. I'm willing to take a shot on, like, Ty Johnson or Jeff Wilson Jr. Like, there are really cheap running backs you can utilize this week. I don't think that you have to pay up at both. And I like Austin Eckler so much more than I like any other running back. That's probably where I'm going to stick. Looking at wide receiver, no kind of like unexpected weird chalk at the bottom. Main chalk looks like Mike Williams. Yeah, he's going to be 30% owned. I think tomorrow he's going to be really, really highly owned. After him, we have DJ Moore. Okay, DJ Moore is only 6K to pair with Cam Newton, right? That makes sense. Hunter Renfrow at 6K also makes sense in that game for the Chargers. Zay Jones is just like the nuts leverage off of Hunter Renfrow for me, for sure. Let's see, 13% on Mike Evans, 11% on Jake Goitan. I think Goitan ends up higher owned than that. Some interesting ones like Russell Gage still not getting any respect. He's only 5,700 and he's still projecting really, really well. Michael Gallup still projects well at 5,500 right here with these guys. Like, he's going to have the least ownership of the three. So if you're stacking Dallas, Michael Gallup over Amari Cooper is a really, really easy way to go about things. Or Michael Gallup with Amari Cooper and fading CeeDee Lamb gives you a lot more wiggle room. Let's see. 5% on Traquan Smith. Yeah, that makes sense. There's a lot of ways to be different at wide receiver this week. Looking at tight end, it looks like Travis Kelce, George Kittle, and Rob Gronkowski looking to get the most ownership. And then, yeah, like I said, Austin Hooper looking like he's going to be kind of a trendy play as well. I mean, I like Foster Moreau a lot. I think Foster Moreau in that spot is really, really nice and a really, really easy way to come back in a game where people are going to be using Travis Kelce. You can use both Travis Kelce and Foster Moreau. There's no reason not to do that this week. Foster Moreau is pretty cheap. It gives you a lot. It allows you to game stack. If you like Foster Moreau more than you like, say, Zay Jones, I don't mind using him in the flex. Outside of that, like Dawson Knox at 5K as a pivot away from the other higher-owned ones, I don't mind him at all. It's 5K. But yeah, tight end, I don't think there's any like super bad chalk. And Travis Kelce is fine. He has negative love X, but it's not super negative. George Kittle is fine. It's negative, but it's not super negative. The most of the leverage is going to be on Foster Moreau and Jared Everett. So yeah, that's going to do it. That's a whole slate broken down in an hour or so while I've been drinking whiskey. I think it should be a good slate. I'm pretty excited for it. I already built one of my stacks. I built it while we were on the show. I really like how it turned out. I'm likely going to be Kansas City, Dallas, and Buffalo this week, I think. We'll see. It's either going to be Buffalo or Tampa Bay. I'm not sure which one of those two it's going to be, but it's either going to be Buffalo or Tampa Bay. But for sure, Kansas City and Dallas are going to be stacks that I have a lot of interest in. So, thank you guys for tuning in. If you do not already have a subscription over at paydrdfs.com, go get one. NFL has been great. NBA has been great. Esports are coming back in about a month, and that is where our bread and butter is, where our models are super strong. So I'm really excited for the next year as well, and changing and rebranding a little bit. So go get a subscription. It's only $30 a month for every single sport under the sun. I will have my thoughts and notes up tomorrow morning before the slate starts for NFL. And yeah, if you guys need me, hit me up on Twitter. And if you don't, then have a great night and don't hit me up on Twitter. Leave me alone. But I like the attention too. So thank you guys so much. I'll talk to you later. Adios.